on. What's up, you guys? This is HJ, aka Shredder here, and welcome to the Level Infinite Show. Today we've got Bill with the Gaming and Collecting podcast here to join us. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So to start off, you want to tell us a little bit about your show, what you guys do?
So I'm one of two hosts of the Gaming and Collecting podcast. The Gaming and Collecting podcast is it's essentially a gaming and anime-based nostalgia podcast I host with my younger sister Alex, and we kind of just talk about different like gaming, anime, manga topics, both old and new, and we kind of give our like sibling kind of perspective on them.
Awesome. So I want to start off by asking you, what is your favorite game of all time?
So my favorite video game of all time is actually Persona 4 Golden.
I'm only 20, so I'm probably not old enough to remember. But what console was that on actually?
So the original Persona 4 came out in '08 on the PlayStation 2. It later saw a updated like re-release that added a whole bunch of content on the PlayStation Vita in 2012.
Awesome. Okay. So I guess I want to ask you, how long have you been doing podcasting for?
So podcasting, I only started back in 2021. I've had an internet presence, I guess you could say, since 2019, I want to say.
Well, that's really cool, dude. So I want to talk to you about some upcoming game releases and some recent releases. I know you're probably excited to get your hands on anything new you can find, seeing as how you do collect a lot of that stuff. Need for Speed Unbound released recently, and I want to get your thoughts and your perspective on what you think of the game so far. If you've played it, if you haven't played it, it's totally fine. But I want to get your perspective on Need for Speed Unbound.
So I haven't played it yet. I have been watching it though, because I am a big fan of the old Need for Speed games. I like the look of it so far. I'm hoping that it plays pretty well. I don't know if you've played it or not, or
I have had a chance to play it on trial for EA Play. I don't think my trial's run out yet, actually, so I still have a little bit of time left.
okay. Um, so the last Need for Speed I really played a lot of was the Most Wanted remake. Well, not the remake. I guess the new Need for Speed Most Wanted that came out back in.
Oh, the 2012 one?
Yeah, that was like the last one I really played a lot of. I was a big fan of like the super old school ones, like on the PlayStation.
Like Carbon, Undercover. I miss Undercover. That was a big one
Undercover
for
was
me.
cool. The two Underground games were classics. Hot Pursuit was another really fun one.
So did you like the remaster when they did the remaster for Hot Pursuit 2011?
I did. That was I love the so like when it comes to Need for Speed, there's like the classic style games which are more just kind of arcadey style like racing, and then the later ones they brought in a lot of like the whole tuning mechanics where you like kind of have to like adjust everything to perfection. I like how they've kind of integrated both sides into it, and it's kind of like become just like this one really solid like racer at this point.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like about the Need for Speed franchise is how it's evolved from just from a simple graphics to advanced graphics, and
Mm-hmm.
and also the diversity of the characters. If you remember in Need for Speed Heat, the diversity of the characters dramatically changed, and
Mm-hmm.
the diversity of the soundtracks as well. They
Oh yeah.
really included a lot of different changes in the diversity and the culture surrounding Need for Speed has really evolved over the years.
Especially when you look at like the really old ones where there was basically no story or like no real character at all. It was just a strict racer.
Right. I think I've seen Hot Pursuit 3. from way back in the day. I've seen some videos of that. That it's actually a really cool arcade version of the game. Seeing that version of Hot Pursuit versus now, it's so much better. And the fact that you can actually free roam now, which you really,
Mm,
and the maps have gotten larger, which you really couldn't do that in some of the first games.
definitely. Honestly, like racing games to me are like one of the biggest genres that has benefited from like improved graphics over the time because like the more detail into like the world and like the cars just like really adds to the experience.
Right. And I also want to get your opinion on Grand Theft Auto 6 because I'm ready for it. I don't know if you're ready for it either, but they after the leak they did confirm GTA 6, and so I
Mhm.
wanted to get your thoughts on what you expect to hear or see from GTA 6.
So GTA 6, I did see the leak briefly. I kind of tried to avoid it to a degree just because I didn't want to I like to go into these things blind. So like when I saw there was a leak, I kind of saw a few like of the basic ideas, and I was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna wait for that to go away, and then I'll keep my opinions for when it does come out. The fact that they confirmed it, I'm happy about because I don't know about you, but I am really tired of Grand Theft Auto 5 at this point.
Right, it's been around since 2013.
It's
It's actually weird because I don't condone the hacking and leaking, but at the end of the day, we got confirmation because of a leak. So in a way,
Mhm.
you love them and you hate them at the same time.
Yeah, what they did was wrong, but it was at least good to know that they are doing something because it's really baffling to me that Rockstar Games only put out one game during the entire um, eighth generation of consoles, which was Red Dead 2. Other than that, they've just done Grand Theft Auto 5. And there's a meme that goes around every now and then that like the PS2 had three Grand Theft Autos and Grand Theft Auto 5 has had three PlayStations.
Right.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 is a phenomenal game, but I'd like them to do something else.
Actually, if I'm actually if you think about it, the Xbox has actually had more on Grand Theft Auto 5. They have the 360, One S, One X, and Series X and S. So they've
Yeah,
actually technically had five.
yeah. If you want to get really technical with Microsoft's weird like goofiness, also that also depends if you count PlayStation 4 and PS Pro 4 or whatever they call these things now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Have you tried the Steam Deck yet?
Um, so I have not tried the Steam Deck. I've kind of the way I've seen it is like I when they were kind of hard to find, I'm a person that's not going to have time to use one right now, so I kind of was like I'd rather the people who actually want the thing to get it. If
Uh,
it
so I want you at least seen it, and I want to get your I really want curious to know, like, do you actually think that it will be worth it to get a Steam Deck? I mean, it's basically like a Switch but with PC games instead.
I think it's worth it if you have the technical mindset for it, because like I don't want to like insult anybody. I feel like it's a system right now that is not inherently user friendly, if that makes sense. But once you figure the way around it, there it has a lot of potential to be probably one of like the most advanced video game devices of all time. The problem is though, is the average gamer gonna be able to like pick it up right away and figure it out like a lot of the diehards have done so far?
Right. I'm actually thought about getting one for a little while, but now I'm leaning more towards the Switch because
Mm-hmm.
one, it's cheaper, but
Yeah,
it's also you can get all the same, you can get more console-based games, and it's a lot easier to use nowadays.
that's the key. Um, if I had the time and like the expertise, I would probably pick up a Steam Deck just because there's a ton of Steam games that I'd love to play on the go, like in like a handheld form. But a lot of the games I'd probably play on it, I can get on the Switch anyways. So it's kind of one of those. I don't really need it right now, so I'm not super. concerned on picking it up. I guess you could say.
So I have to ask, Xbox or PlayStation
Uh,
for console preference?
Preference the PlayStation consoles, but I don't have any sort of bias like between the two of them. I've had PlayStation consoles since I was like a little kid, like with the PS1, and I've just always I prefer the controller. That's really my main thing with them.
For me, it's personally I prefer PlayStation for exclusives
Mm-hmm.
and for and for like overall design of the console itself. I prefer Xbox for the simplicity and for the customability and all the other more freedom, better subscription, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of split both ways. Like I want to play Spider-Man though. That's the main reason I want a PS5 for
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man and NBA. That's it.
Yeah. Um, I've always had the PlayStation consoles, so I've always been just inherently like a fan of those. In recent years, I actually do have picked up like an original Xbox and a 360, and I can't deny like I've moved past like console fanboyism like to a degree, and now I like to look at every system for what it's for like what its true value is. And I have to admit, the original Xbox and the 360 were phenomenal consoles, and there was a ton of great games that came out on those. But like my like nostalgia as a kid was always like the PlayStation side. Like I always loved like the Naughty Dog games, the Sucker Punch games, all those like exclusive titles that just kind of scream PlayStation.
Oh my God, there are so many titles from 360 that I missed that I'll
Mm-hmm.
never get to see again.
Yep.
They never brought Need for Speed Most Wanted, Need for Speed Undercover. They didn't really bring some of the Transformers games over. There's a lot of games that I missed that they never brought over to the new gen
Mm-hmm.
that I really miss so much. I think I still have a 360 somewhere in my house. I just don't know if I still own any of the games that come with it.
So the great thing about Xbox consoles right now is we get to like the collecting sphere and like retro collecting, nobody seems to care about Xbox stuff right now, and it is super cheap and like to like an almost crazy degree.
I know there was I think there was a console. I don't know if it was a 360 or an Xbox Classic, but it will there's a collection store um in our sister city, Winterville, near there, and they had this console. I forgot which one it was, but it was like $50. And I was gonna pick it up because the thing is, you think about it, and about since they don't really make those anymore, if you wait about another 10, 20 years, it'll probably be worth a couple $1,000s, probably, if you can find the right person to buy it from you.
That is true. The problem with game collecting inherently though is it is a very unstable like market, and we don't know where trends are going to go at times. Like right now, Nintendo stuff is like, well, the way I've always looked at it is the way collecting seems to go is Nintendo seems to rule the direction of what's hot at a given time. And right now we're in like the GameCube, like N64, like period where those are like the biggest nostalgia consoles. For whatever reason, it's like certain systems will climb and then others will just like plummet. But like others just kind of will stay at a baseline expensive like area and just they never go up or go down. It's weird to watch.
It's like investing stocks.
Yeah, only it's something that could just disappear at any. Actually, no, I guess that is kind of like stocks, regardless.
Regardless, I feel like for some odd reason, I feel like historically, from what I've seen, Nintendo consoles, when you try and resell them in later years' time, have historically, for some reason, been worth a lot more usually. Not really sure. I like you might know why that is a little bit more than I do. I can never figure out necessarily why that is. Why some Nintendos are worth substantially more than even some of the old PlayStation consoles and whatnot.
So, if you actually want me to give a cool little story, um, It actually, a lot of it comes down to supply and demand. So the two biggest ones, like in particular, that are the most interesting to look at are the N64 and the GameCube. When you actually break down those consoles, in terms of sales that generation, like particularly the sixth generation, which was PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, the PS2 sold like over 155 million units, and was like it's still to this day the greatest selling console of all time. The GameCube, on the other hand, was the third place console, and it wasn't even close. Like the GameCube, like in a lot of ways, is a failed console because it did not sell a particularly high amount of units, and because of that, there's not a big supply of GameCubes out in the wild anymore that are still functioning. So it's actually driven the price up, along with like the GameCube nostalgia, because like everybody pretty much had a PS2. Like there isn't a huge amount of nostalgia for the PS2 like there is for the GameCube.
And so actually that actually for some actually makes sense now. I don't because I didn't think it didn't really dawn on me. Um, that's actually a really interesting way of looking at it because it didn't really
Mm-hmm.
dawn. I knew about the market and demand, but I didn't know like the actual reason behind that market and demand. So thank you for actually explaining that to me
Mm-hmm.
because now I know exactly what to look for. Um, and and as far as like sports games goes, what did you play a lot of sports games back in the day when they had like NCAA football and that sort of thing?
Not so much football. I'm not really a stick and ball sports kind of guy, but I did play a lot of NASCAR games growing up.
And so, what was your favorite NASCAR game?
A favorite NASCAR game, probably NASCAR Dirt to Daytona. That was on the PS2, Xbox, and I think GameCube. That one was kind of like the first one where it had this whole like career progression thing where you'd kind of like you'd start off in the lower series, then you'd have to work your way up to eventually get to like the big like Cup series. It was a cool little game.
I actually one of my favorite games growing up that was the actual sports game. I love the first handful of Maddens and the
Mm-hmm.
NCAA football series. They were actually really good. I can remember playing NCAA football for a little while when I had that for a while, and I would I would just pick out college teams and just play on different arenas. And with Madden 12, I was actually able to create my own fictional team and my own fictional stadium wherever I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to create a stadium in Hawaii, I could create a stadium in Hawaii. It was actually very cool. It was very cool.
So something interesting about Madden actually, to me, I feel like the issue that Madden has nowadays is so EA has 100% exclusivity rights to like the NFL franchise. They've had that since like 2006, I want to say. I feel like ever since they got the exclusivity rights, they've actually gotten a lot lazier with like their games because they have no competition and they don't have anyone to actually like challenge them anymore. Like to me, like the greatest football game ever made was ESPN NFL 2K5 on the PS2 and Xbox. And that was the final game of the NFL 2K series before EA actually bought the exclusive rights. And I feel like that was like the peak of like when like they were pushing each other to the max at the time.
And that explains why NBA is not on Game Pass because 2K owns the rights to that
Mm-hmm.
game. But but EA is technically assisting with that. So I want makes me wonder why they wouldn't put it on EA Play if EA is the people who are helping to publish the game along with 2K. That didn't doesn't make sense to me.
I don't really know. So I'm mostly a physical game collector. Like I don't do a lot of digital stuff. So when it comes to like digital licensing, that's like a whole nother like mess of worms. Like to kind of like figure out the structures. That's why a lot of games just kind of like are not around anymore because there's like licensing issues that are like tying them up in one place and making it so that we can't get them on modern day systems at the moment.
Minecraft. So that's another thing. Do you ever think that Minecraft Java Edition and Bedrock Edition would ever actually merge together?
hard to say because there's so many versions of Java Edition out there just from downloads, and then the others. Hmm. I guess it depends on if the demand for it comes. I'm not really sure on that, to be honest.
I thought I actually found something interesting about when with technical aspects of the game that might prevent Java from merging, and one of it is that Bedrock uses the C++ or C pound code base that
Hmm.
has the controller support and that consoles run, and the Java code base that's mainly meant to only run on PC. In order to do something like that, I think they would literally have to strip down the game rebuild and reintegrate the code from scratch, which is a
Hmm.
whole nother world of technicality to it.
Yeah.
That was really interesting that I when I found that out because I because I was thinking that it would be just a straight shot, add controller support and then merge it. But come to find out that there's some graphical components and some technical components that they would
Mm.
have to just tear down the game and rebuild it
Yeah.
because of the type of code base that Java runs on.
Especially when you think about just how old like the original Java game actually is, because that thing's been around since. I mean, the alpha phase I think was like 2010. I want to say.
Right, and that's I think that's part of the reason why they've decided to do the launcher and the migration stuff, but they've never actually decided to merge the games together because they know that it is so many technical errors and so many technical risks involved
Mm.
that they just know that it will not work, and that's probably why they're not doing it.
Yeah.
I would love to see them merge it because there are a lot of mods and mods and that sort of thing that if they merged it, if it retained the core that those mods needed to run, then they would actually be able to integrate having those sort of mods on the console and on PC and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Also, I'm curious, what is your favorite mod? If you've ever did a mod for Minecraft, what's your favorite mod?
Favorite mod. I haven't messed with Minecraft mods in a very long time, so I'm a little bit rusty. One of the ones I thought was the funnest was there was one called Elemental Creepers that I used to mess around with all the time,
Oh,
and
the one with the different creepers that blow up.
yeah, they have like different like elemental powers. Like the upside down one to me, I always thought was funny, just because wherever it blew up, it would turn that entire area upside down. It was super glitchy though, and it would break the game a lot.
My favorite mods were the weather mod and the more TNT mod because I could
Hmm.
actually ignite a tactical nuke.
Yeah. uh, Minecraft is that's one of those games that I didn't think would be like as great as it is, and then I finally played, and I was like, this game is like one of the greatest time wasters I've ever had.
And it's also one of those games that you make a lot of memories with,
Hmm.
cause for me me and my friends growing up, like we literally grew up on like Minecraft and
Hmm.
Madden and NBA and all that. We grew up on that stuff, and so that's just a lot of the games that you make memories with.
That's fun because I remember growing up and like RuneScape was like the big thing that me and all the people in my age group played back in the day.
It's that it's interesting because when my parents were growing up, they actually the memories they made, they actually went to the coin arcade and that's how they would play.
Yep.
I have actually have a former teacher who to this day still has some different consoles and whatnot from when he was a teenager and whatnot that he's familiar with, and I remember him telling me stories about how they would always they would save up like a hundred coins, a hundred
Hmm.
quarters, for a total of $50, and they would go and they would some of them, and they would just go to the arcade, and that was just their thing. That was just all they ever. That's just what they did. My mom they would ride their bikes down there, or take a car if they had one, and they just go to the arcade and just have fun with that now.
Yeah. That was a different time too, because like they don't even have arcades really anymore. There's like some novelty ones, but other than that, it's not nearly what it used to be.
Yeah, we just recently got an arcade in our mall, and they don't even use the coins anymore. They have these electronic cards that you have
Hmm.
to use now, and you have to load like $40 to it in order to be able to play like 20 to like maybe 10 times. It's kind of expensive, but it's just not traditional, and it's not
Hmm.
the way it used to be anymore. It's
Yeah,
just not the same.
I think it's just to keep down on like all the coins and stuff, just because there's so many machines and they'd have to clean them out all the time. It's probably
Yeah.
just easier on them that way.
Yeah, but they could also make the most money for it because they can charge you for cards and that sort of thing. And
Yep.
I still have my card for the arcade place of the mall. And I go there every once in a while, but I don't go as much as I used to anymore because nowadays with these consoles that we have, we can just sit right at home and do it, and it's
Hmm.
like we can just play infinitely for however long we want if we don't have jobs or school at the time, and just sit there and do that.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So, one last question, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let you go here. Since we're going into the new year, I want to ask you, what's one resolution that you and your co-host have for your podcast that you wanna make come true next year for 2023?
So our plan for season 3 so far is mostly the same as it was in season 2. Going to continue to improve and like improve our podcasting style and who we are as hosts. But we also, one of our big goals for season 3 is we're going to revisit a bunch of the old season 1 episodes that we weren't exactly happy with the first time around, and we're actually going to try bringing in like guests for certain episodes, mostly because we want to get an extra perspective on things, and that's going to be one of our main goals for season 3 this year.
Awesome. So I really quickly want to show you something cool. So, you might not know this about our podcast, but some of our podcast episodes are actually video episodes where you can actually watch us play games, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very unique and different. I guess I could share my screen with you really quickly because I really want you to see it. It's like really cool. But you can actually watch us play games like this, like 5PD and stuff, and it's actually really interesting.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever tried anything like that. I know you typically think of that stuff on YouTube.
Um, it's not really something we're pursuing yet. We are thinking about doing video at some point in the future, and we're planning on streaming it as soon as our schedules allow it. We kind of, our problem is we're just super busy right now with our work schedules.
Yeah. So, so yeah, that's actually really cool though. Yeah, having video though is actually a very interesting format, and I know it allows you to do so many more things with that.
Mm.
All right. So anyway, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I need to turn that down. You get to be the man. You get to be the man of the room with
Yep.
your own audience cheering for you. Isn't that awesome?
That is pretty cool.
So thank you so much, Bill, from the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. I hope to speak with you soon, some other time.
Hmm.
And thank you once again. And I'll see everybody in the next episode.
Thanks
So
again for having
that's
me.